Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Entitled Parent Stole My Meds and Refused to Give Them Back. After that, Insurance Firm Insists on Direct Billing? Okay then, have it your way. And after that, am I the jerk for telling a guy on the bus I'd rather he not sit next to me? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Oh Reddit boy, you've taken this too far. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Parent Stole My Meds and Refused to Give Them Back. I, 21 male, had a surgical removal of a cyst this afternoon. Mine had a pretty nasty infection, so it had to be removed ASAP. I went to the hospital with my fiance, 19 male, and my parents, who are 62 male and 57 female. Everything went very smoothly, thankfully. But as my parents were driving me and my fiance back to our apartment, we got into a discussion about the medication I was prescribed. Now, my parents are paranoid when it comes to meds. I don't blame them. I'm aware that some can be addictive, and I'm wary of it myself. They straight up told me that I shouldn't take it at all, and just take Tylenol and ibuprofen. I told them I'd rather have the medication I was prescribed just in case my pain got bad once the hospital meds wore off. I wasn't allowed to drive after my surgery, so they were supposed to pick up my medication for me. Well, they did, but with 2 of my pills missing. Well, that's fishy and annoying. I texted my mom basically asking where my meds went. She didn't respond, so I kind of forced it by telling her I'd have to report the pharmacist if it wasn't her. She said, "I took the other 2, and I took them because that's all you can legally have and drive your fiance to work tomorrow. Okay?" Wow, I had set money aside for him to be able to get an Uber tomorrow if he needed to anyways, which she would have known had she talked to me about it or even brought up these concerns at all. I was upset. I texted this huge paragraph that was basically saying either give them back or I'm filing a police report, that stealing like this was a felony, that I understand her fear, but this was absolutely not the way to go about it. 40 minutes later, I get a "We're here" text and a pounding on my door. I waddle over and open, and my parents are standing in the doorway, very upset. My dad starts talking about how it was absolutely not okay to threaten legal action, and that I needed to apologize. He said it was his fault that no one talked to me about it, that he's sorry, but then goes on a 5-minute rant of how I have an addictive personality. I was a smoker when I was 18. How he's concerned for me, how he would never use the law against me, that the surgeon is giving them out like candy, and that he's heard a lot of cases of people getting addicted to these and didn't want to risk it. I said that being concerned wasn't the issue. He couldn't take away my say on the situation. He couldn't just steal from me just because he's scared. At the very least, he should discuss his concerns with me like an adult. He did not like that. He played this game of keep away with the bottle, holding it out to me and then yanking it away to say more to me. Just kept arguing. I got them back after a lot of fighting. Am I wrong here? I need to know if I overreacted. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. The fact that you think you might be means his gaslighting is working. They stole it from you, lied to you, and then tried to manipulate you, and tried to punish you for your completely normal response. Not the jerk. Surgeons are absolutely not just handing these out like candy. In fact, many chronic pain patients are now having great difficulty getting meds due to the doctor's reluctance. Not the jerk. My mom did the same thing to me all the time because she would always worry. That's why I live with my dad now, and he's never home, so I finally have the freedom I've always wanted. I'd go no contact with them if I were you. They obviously have no clue what they're talking about. Well, what do you think? Was OP the jerk for threatening to call the cops or not? Please let us know. Sometimes parents mess around and find out. Insurance firm insists on direct billing? Okay then, have it your way. I may get some insurance-related terms confused because I'm not knowledgeable about private insurance systems outside of my country, India. My cousin is Indian and lives in India and works for a major American cruise line. His usual schedule is 9 months of work sailing around North America and 3 months of vacation time back in India. The maritime insurance company that he's insured with provides medical coverage for him. When he was on vacation in India, he tore his ACL and MCL and injured his meniscus playing football, soccer. It required a ligament reconstruction surgery and some months of rehab before he was fit to work again. There is public health care in India, but for something like knee ligament reconstruction, it still costs money. although not as much as at private hospitals, and also takes time as there is a waiting list. So he decided to go private, which is costlier. So he went to an arthroscopic surgeon and got a letter from him detailing the estimated cost of the surgery, the date, and other relevant medical details. He emailed the details to the insurance company and they approved the surgery. Only one problem. They insisted on direct billing to the doctor. Now, doctors in India are familiar with direct billing, but it's mostly with insurance companies that operate domestically in India. Naturally, the doctor was hesitant to accept the arrangement despite receiving a letter of guarantee from them. He simply wasn't convinced of the legal validity of a letter of guarantee from a foreign insurance company in India. What if they, for some reason, refuse to pay? He can't do anything about it. So at this point, my cousin stepped in and suggested to the company that he'll foot the bill up front and then submit a claim, after which the company can reimburse him. The insurance company seemed to agree at first, but this medical cost containment company they were partnered up with was vehemently opposed to the idea. They insisted on direct billing even though it didn't make a lick of difference in terms of cost. He tried convincing them that no doctor in India would accept this arrangement from a foreign insurance company, but they wouldn't relent. At last, he said forget this and went on a citywide search and finally found a top doctor in one of the most expensive hospitals in the city who was willing to operate on his knee with a letter of guarantee. The doctor also worked in 3 months of post-op physiotherapy costs into the surgery bill. The hospital had the best rooms, the best service, and the highest quality of care. The doctor worked with some of the top athletes in the country, and the final estimated cost was at least 700% more than the previous doctor. The insurance company didn't object and simply approved the surgery. He expected them to question the cost, but it was only around $8,000, which is the equivalent of like 4 ambulance rides in America. That must be a paltry sum for the company. At the end of the day, my cousin got the best care possible because of the insurance company's inexplicable insistence. Or maybe they had good reason, but they lost money at the end of the day. Edit. Everyone amazed at the $8,000 bill. Let me tell you, it's a small amount for Americans, but it's still a big bill in India. A lot of Americans are flocking to India for surgeries for this particular reason. You receive great quality healthcare at some of the best hospitals here, and the end cost is almost a fraction of what you would end up paying in the US, and that's including for the flight tickets and hotel tickets at hotels like Hilton and Marriott. It's kind of depressing to admit that that price is actually more like 2 ambulance rides. If that. My son tried to refuse an ambulance ride because of cost. It was more than that for the single ride between hospitals. My brother had to have a ride for a non-emergency procedure between hospitals, different towns about 45 minutes apart. The first hospital refused to release him, so my parents could take him to the other hospital. The ride was billed at over $10,000. Am I the jerk for telling a guy on the bus I'd rather he not sit next to me? I, 35, female, commute into work in the city on Mondays and it's a 3.5-hour trip. I normally sit near the front and there's always lots of extra seats open, including lots with open seats open, so you don't need to sit next to anyone if you don't want to. I sit up front near the driver because it feels safer. Lots of people put their bags on the empty seat next to them and move them when someone asks to sit down. Previously, I always kept my bags on my lap while people were boarding, and if no one sat next to me, I'd expand a bit. A few weeks ago, about 20 minutes into the trip, a guy gets up and asks, "Do you mind if I sit here?" I said no problem, and he sat down. I'm catching up on work, and he seems fine. Then he begins to manspread and starts consistently applying pressure to the armrest area. This is one of my pet peeves. I loathe having to make myself physically small so that other people, to be honest, it's almost always men, can spread out like no one else is allowed to have personal space. But whatever, it's transit. It sucks, but so it goes. For the record, we're both fairly lean people. Neither of us appears to physically need to take up more than our allotted space. I didn't say anything, but I kept my legs and arms firmly on my armrest. Middle armrest, we each had one, refusing to budge. He kept giving me side-eye, applying more pressure, etc., but eventually seemed to settle into just applying pressure. Annoying, but whatever. Once I had to get some water, and he immediately took over my armrest. When I was done, I made eye contact to assert dominance, said, "Pardon me." He said sorry, and I got my armrest back. Pressure resumed. Annoying, but not enough for me to feel it was worth escalating or changing seats. Well, guess who takes this bus every Monday morning now? That's right, this guy. I started putting my bag down on the seat next to me until after he boards and then move it. I move it immediately and welcome anyone who asks to sit next to me during boarding time. Week 2, he did ask once the bus had started into its route. I said no problem and then got up and went to sit somewhere else. He gave me an affronted look. I sat in another set of open double seats on the other side of the bus. Week 4, he left me alone. Week 5, he did the same post-boarding move. This time, there weren't any side-by-side seats where both were open, but there were lots of open single seats. This time I said, "I'm sorry, if you don't mind sitting in one of the other open seats, I'd really appreciate it." He glared at me, then started calling me all these mean names under his breath before going to sit somewhere else. At the destination, he caught up with me and said, "You didn't have to be such a jerk," and stormed off. Normally, I never discourage people from sitting next to me when they ask, so maybe I'm the jerk for telling him no. I could have gotten up and moved to one of the open seats, but I just really didn't want to. Not the jerk. You should honestly report the behavior to the driver. He was purposely targeting you. Not the jerk. I wouldn't have felt comfortable sitting next to him for 3.5 hours and there were other seats available. His reaction would make me want to get another bus. OP. I wish there was another bus or literally any other way to transit in. I'd happily pay a bit more for a train to get away from him, but they haven't restarted the normal morning train after cutting it off when ridership dropped 2 years ago. This happened to me once when I was 21. I was on an empty subway car and this guy came in and sat right next to me. So I started coughing really hard, just all over my stuff, really gross. He ended up getting up and moving to the next car. Not the jerk. He's being a creep. No one with good intentions specifically wants to sit next to the same person on public transit all the time. If he tries to interact with you again, I'd tell him that you're going to report his behavior to the bus company. Not the jerk. I'm guessing he has a crush on you, and in his weird, twisted reality, thought this was some kind of weird flirting. He was upset because you made it clear to him that it isn't. His fragile ego was probably dented and he lashed out. Do you have the same regular bus driver? If so, I'd mention it to them so they can keep an eye on the situation. If not, you could report it to the company, but if you don't want to do that, just be on guard around him. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the guy who kept trying to sit next to her? Please let us know. Dude probably thought they were gonna start dating and get married and live happily ever after. Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to not embarrass herself at dinner parties? My girlfriend had kind of a rough upbringing, and now she turned out really successful. She's also probably the most self-confident and self-assured person I know, which I really admire, but just once in a while, she says stuff that's socially uncomfortable. For example, we were going to a dinner party, and my friend kept apologizing for her messy car. My girlfriend said, "Girl, I grew up in a hoarder house, and I'm in the middle of shoveling garbage out of that house. There's nothing on earth that could disgust me anymore." And while that's true, it was kind of an uncomfortable overshare. Another time, her coworker was talking about how their kid was really shy and she didn't know how to help. My girlfriend was like, "Give her time, I'm sure she'll grow into herself." I didn't talk to anyone in school. Literally, I had no friends if you'll believe it. One last time, my girlfriend and I were at a networking event, and one of my coworkers joked about how my girlfriend should enjoy grabbing thirds of a food when she's young, because she can't eat like that forever. Without missing a beat, she said, "Oh, I don't think about food restriction like that anymore. It's an eating disorder trigger. Anyway, I'm trying to bulk up." Anyway, we had a big argument about it. We were invited to a dinner at my company's CEO's house this coming weekend along with a few peers. I asked her to not share anything uncomfortable there. She asked what I meant, and I gave her the same examples. I told her that kind of shamelessness about stuff most people find shameful is awkward. She was like, "But it's not really shameful. And renovating and flipping a house? So many of your coworkers talk about that." I said it wasn't the house flipping, it was the fact that it was her family home, and it was a hoarder house, and it was weird to shamelessly talk about having no friends. She was like, "That stuff is in the past. Why would I be insecure now?" I got exasperated and asked her to just not share stuff that most people would be embarrassed to say at the dinner. And she got angry and said that it sounded like I thought her whole life is embarrassing. So should she shut up? I said no, just talk about current stuff, like you just got a promotion, traveled to Europe, bought your dream car. And she snapped at me, "But I'm also still shoveling garbage every day. So it sounds like you're just embarrassed of me. Forget you for saying I should have more shame. I'm proud of myself. It sounds like you're the one who's ashamed." I'm still worried about how this dinner party will go, and I'm questioning whether I messed up by saying something. Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to not embarrass herself at a dinner party with my company's CEO? You're the jerk. Your girlfriend sounds like an emotionally intelligent woman relating to people in conversation. None of these are out of place for the topics. You might not like her saying it, but none of what you've described is weird or uncomfortable. She's right, you sound embarrassed by her past. I'm freelance and downsized, but I used to have a small amount of employees. If any one of them had a girlfriend at an event who spoke like this, I'd think she was straightforward, relatable, human, and sociable. None of that is shameful. You're the jerk. Sounds like you're extremely repressed and would be much better to find someone more your speed. Your girlfriend seems like too much of a free spirit and emotionally intelligent person. Find someone more emotionally stopped up like you. OP is hilarious. He's so insecure and clueless. It's hard to believe he didn't realize what he was writing as he posted. Girlfriend is a well-adjusted adult, secure, outgoing, and sounds delightful. She can do so much better. You're the jerk. Your girlfriend isn't shameless. She's talking about real life. She doesn't care what other people think about her. You, on the other hand, have a lot of growing up to do. You're embarrassing, honestly. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know.
If I were her, I'd let one rip at that dinner party and see how embarrassed he is then.
Am I the jerk for buying my daughter a new car for her 16th birthday without talking to my wife about it, or buying new cars for my sons? I have 4 kids, Lucas, who's 24, Jace, 22, Henry, 17, and Katie, 16. When Katie was born, I was very worried that we might end up favoring and spoiling her since she's our only daughter and youngest. I tried my best to never show favoritism and always treat my kids equally, but it turned out the opposite of what I expected. My wife clearly favors our sons. I tried everything. I talked to her, tried therapy, asked her parents to talk to her, showed her research about the negative side effects of favoritism, but nothing worked. I helped them buy a car. They each had to save money, and I would double the money they have saved and buy a car with it. We also have a tradition that the birthday boy or birthday girl will choose all the plans for that day, where we go, what we eat, etc. That was also the plan for Katie's birthday. On the day of Katie's birthday, Henry had a basketball game, and my wife told us she wants to go with Henry instead of coming with us to celebrate Katie's birthday, because apparently it was an important game. Henry told her she doesn't have to come, but she insisted she wanted to be there. We argued over this, but she ended up going there, and Jace went with them as well. I asked Katie what she wants to do, but she bursted out crying and said she doesn't want to do anything. Lucas went to her room and talked to her and finally convinced her to come with us, but she refused to choose what to do and she was silent the whole time, so I did the only thing I knew would make her happy. I took her to a car shop and told her she can choose whatever she wants and I'll pay for it and she gets to keep all the money she has saved. It really improved her mood. She chose a car and then we went to her favorite restaurant. Then they left me and went out together because apparently they wanted some sibling time and I'm too old for what they wanted to do. When she came back home, she seemed very happy and told me she loved her birthday. When my wife heard about it, she got mad at me and said I had no right to buy a car without talking to her, and it's not fair that Katie got a new car for free when our sons had to save money for a used car. I know it was probably wrong to do this, but it made Katie happy and Lucas thinks I did right. Not the jerk. You're making up for the lack of effort on your wife's part. She can be mad all she wants. If she had been there, then maybe you could have talked to her, but she wasn't. I'm glad your kiddo had a good 16th birthday, and I hope this doesn't cause too many issues in the family. It's already causing a lot of issues. That basketball game wasn't the most important game of his life. Her daughter literally burst out crying because of her awful mother's favoritism. Hopefully OP's daughter goes no contact with her mother and realizes she missed out on a good relationship with her one and only daughter. Not the jerk. Man, I really wanted to say you're the jerk because that's a big decision to make without asking your partner. But given that you walked into a dealership and said, "Pick a car, it's on me," I'm assuming you have some degree of serious money, so we'll go with the assumption that's not an issue. Not the jerk. But I would maybe talk to your sons, who seem innocent in all of this, about why you did it, and maybe do something nice for them too. Speaking of cars, if you could have any car right now for free, which one would you choose? Please let us know.
Just give me a DeLorean so my life can be complete.
I would like a raise, and time off, and I want to start this off by clarifying that this is not my story. It's the story of someone very close to me, and I will leave out a large amount of specific detail because quite a bit of the info is not mine to reveal. The build-up to the revenge is that this person had a horrible employer. She worked HR and managed payroll at what was effectively a nursing home. I don't know if they call themselves that, but it's what they are. The company had a bit of a good old boys club going on, with all of the highest level management being older men, who all did less work and got more pay than pretty much everyone else. There were regular complaints from women who worked there, and many women were fired for absolutely absurd reasons, followed by their male coworkers getting raises. That in and of itself was bad, but it's not what instigated the need for revenge. What caused the burning desire to get back at the company was when the company fired my friend's manager, who was a woman, because she took a week off after literally breaking a leg, badly. The HR department was already badly understaffed, so my friend had to take on the responsibilities of this manager without any pay bonus. She requested a pay bonus multiple times, denied each time. A month or so later, the company hires a new manager to replace the old one at nearly twice the salary. The new manager is an older man. I'm not entirely sure what this guy actually did during the day because my friend continued to do all of the managerial tasks, and she knows that for a fact because the guy's account didn't have access to the systems he needed access to, and he never asked for that access. For 6 months, my friend showed this manager issues with their system, including payroll, and explained that she was not only the only employee who knew how to use the payroll system, but she was the only one with access to it. The jerk ignored her and made regular comments about how she was replaceable and useless. One day, she lost it. She set up a bot with her credentials to automatically assign her pay each pay period, according to her actual salary, so not stealing or anything. She then carefully plans her next move and puts in her 2-week notice, right before a large department-wide week off, and right before her only coworker has a 2-week vacation. She wouldn't have time to train the coworker even if the coworker was in the country. The manager still dismissed her, thinking he could just hire someone who knew what they were doing. Little did he know, she had tweaked with the payroll software over her time there. Nothing super awful, but it was very different from what the base software was. She was the only person who knew how to properly use it, and the only person in the whole company, including the CEO, who had access to the necessary numbers to actually run the payroll. When she leaves, after the 2 weeks, the company has 2 whole pay periods where they do not pay their employees. They can't. But my friend still gets paid because they never disabled her automatic payment thing. They couldn't. Eventually, they called her and basically begged her to consult with them on their payroll. For the past 6 months, she's been paid $250 an hour for 5 hours a week to run the company's payroll, fully remote, even though it was an in-person job before. And to top it all off, she doesn't even actually work the 5 hours. She wrote a script on her personal device to process payroll for her. She just has to press one button. She's working another job now, but wow, they really messed around and found out. Am I the jerk for refusing to change my diet for my wife? My wife, 27 female, and I, 29 male, have been married for 6 years. I work as a Python developer. My wife is a stay-at-home mom to our 4-year-old son. For the past year, I've been trying to incorporate more exercise since I'm having a lot of back pain, muscle cramps, difficulty climbing stairs, etc., basically because of my sedentary job. So now I do swimming early in the morning and in the evening for 1.5 hours each and every day, totaling 3 hours of swimming. I also do yoga every morning before swimming. As a result of this, I'm feeling extremely hungry almost all the time. As per my exercise routine, I should eat about 4,500 to 5,000 calories per day. Most often, I eat a bowl of oatmeal and boil eggs for breakfast, egg and cheese sandwiches for morning snack, ham and cheese sandwiches, and a hearty soup for lunch, a milkshake made with honey, almonds, any fruit, flaxseed, coconut milk, and coconut oil for afternoon snack, and pasta and grilled meat for dinner. I also have dessert, ice cream or a brownie at night if I'm still hungry. My wife recently was told by her doctor that if she doesn't start putting effort to lose weight, there was high health risk. She was put on a strict diet of about 1,500 calories a day, along with gradually increasing exercise. She's been finding it really hard to stick to her diet because she misses the food that she used to eat before. She told me a few days ago that I should follow the same diet as her, but eat more portions. She said that she feels tempted by the food I eat. I suggested to her that she speak to her therapist about this because I have very different health requirements from her, but she thinks I'm being selfish by not supporting her in weight loss journey. The thing is, I need to eat insane portions of food if I just eat veggies, fruits, and lean meat because my calorie requirement is way higher than hers. My wife is refusing to talk to me, saying that I'm a terrible husband for not helping her. I asked her if me eating in my workroom and not bringing the food into the other areas would help her feel less tempted, but she said just knowing that there's food that she shouldn't eat in the house, she'll feel tempted. Am I the jerk? Edit. I do childcare while I'm working from home, so our son plays sitting next to me while I work. She just has to make breakfast and lunch for him, and we have a 50-50 chore split, so she can do what she likes after feeding him and doing her share of chores. I work full-time, but I don't have a stressful job, so I can still do chores and childcare at home while working. Not the jerk. She's being very unreasonable. Why is her diet more important than yours? I agree that she should talk with a therapist about being tempted by other food. That's not your fault or responsibility. Not the jerk. She should absolutely speak to a dietitian as well as her therapist because cravings are her problem. She can be tempted just walking out in the world watching people eat a donut or having a venti iced caramel macchiato, but they shouldn't all stop and eat what she needs to eat. You can encourage her and support her in her journey, but it doesn't involve you just eating identically so she doesn't feel tempted. Not the jerk. Diets, weight loss, weight gain, exclusion, etc. can be tricky business and often play havoc with the emotions of the dieter. There's a lot of self tied up in favorite foods and meals with family and partners, even without things like changing energy levels or hunger pains. When there's tasty, energy-rich food being cooked and eaten in the house, it's going to be a little vexing. However, once she turns it into you being a terrible husband for not supporting her weight loss journey without recognizing that she's trying to shift your fitness journey, she becomes the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know.
Reddit boy doesn't complain when I put him on my cottage cheese diet. Do you, Reddit boy? Help me.
Do whatever and figure it out later? Roger that. I had a reverse situation like this. In my biology class, we had to do group presentations on diseases. My group had COPD. I was paired up with two others, Alex and Valerie. Valerie was the typical loudmouth bully, not in an American cheerleader sense, but in a please don't slam me against a wall intimidating way. Alex was the quiet best friend of the popular guys, nice enough in general, but lazy to the core. In my country, people get divided into academic levels at age 11, and they both have been in the top levels, so they were book smart to some degree. I, however, had purposefully chosen to go down a level because of my mental health, so I was a perfectionist and they knew it. Right when we got told to start working on it, they just kept ignoring me and chatting with their friends. When I asked them how would they know what to present to the class if they didn't research it all, they basically told me to just do whatever and we'll figure it out. So I did. I typed out an entire research document, multiple pages of notes and references, anything and all I could find on COPD that I could understand, and converted that into a comprehensive, beautifully designed PowerPoint presentation. When Presentation D-Day had arrived, I turned up to class well prepared, printouts and USB drive and Easter pack bag, ready to wow the class. The other two soon came to me asking what the game plan was, as they hadn't even as much as typed the word into Google. I told them not to worry, I had thought of everything, and I wasn't lying. When my group got called, I confidently walked to the front of the class, my teammates in tow sweating. Dear Mr. Bean, he looked like his twin with an even bigger mole, and class, my presentation is about COPD. I will be presenting it as Valerie and Alex refuse to cooperate with me on this project. I will, immediately followed by the class erupting in, "Oh!" reactions. Total confused stutters and yells from the two next to me, and the teacher looking at the duo bewildered. Is that so, Alex? Valerie? When the two couldn't even answer what the topic was, they immediately tried blaming me for excluding them. But the teacher had witnessed their little tea parties happening during class, so he told us to drop the presentation and to each send in our own individual research documents as a replacement task. I already had them ready to go. No one ever tried to mess with me during assignments after that again. My ex-wife, Karen, refuses to let our kids have pets. I'm divorced, 6 years, and remarried 2 years. I have 2 sons with my ex, who are 11 and 13, both male. My wife has 1 son who's 9, male. My kid's mom lives less than a mile away. It's close enough for the kids to walk over, but far enough to be separate space. My boys move back and forth between their mom's and my house usually once a week. We're flexible, especially during the summer because of travel, kid activities, etc. My wife's son lives with us full-time. My wife and I have been talking with the kids about getting a pet that they would personally be responsible for at our house. This has been going on since December, and we told the kids we would finally get the pets when all of our summer travel was done. Since then, the kids have been excited about the prospect of having their own pets. We asked them to research their chosen pet, determine what its needs were and what kind of common health problems that kind of pet could have, and how to avoid them. The kids all presented their reports and did an awesome job starting out as responsible pet owners. My kids started thinking about how they would take care of their pets when they were with their mom. We presented their options as we saw them. Come over from time to time, ask for help from someone that's here all the time, bring the pets back and forth. They decided they would like it best if they could bring their pets back and forth between the houses. We said that it would be okay with us, but they had to talk to their mom about it. I let them know that it was their responsibility to initiate that conversation. 2 weeks ago, I reach out to my ex to see what her answer is regarding the pets moving back and forth. She lets me know how the kids approached that conversation, saying, "Dad says we can bring the pets back and forth." I apologize and let her know that that wasn't my intent. I clarify that we're fine with any of their 3 options for caring for these pets. She replies, "In concept, I don't disagree with it." And also later in the conversation, "It's totally unfair to expect me to secondarily be responsible for these pets." I'm confused, but leave that conversation feeling certain that she doesn't want to participate. So I decide that I will take care of the pets while the boys are away. Yesterday, we bought the youngest 2 their pets. They are ecstatic, and it's adorable how they're caring for them. I get an angry message from my ex stating that the purchase of their pets is an imposition on them, regardless of whether they go to their house or not, and a bit of patronizing.
I understand that you and your wife are excited about having an autonomous family unit of your own, but you continually make decisions together in a vacuum that impact the wider scope of immediate family, and it's really not okay.
Am I the jerk for buying these pets without her approval?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.